Is Malcolm Bond, and he's both a veterinarian, there's the context, and a farmer. And he got into veterinary at his father's suggestion after 2 years in chemistry at UVic. After all, what are you going to do with all that science? A little known fact about Malcolm is he used to coach soccer and coached a team of 11-year-old boys to win BC's top prize. Malcolm, we welcome you here tonight.
Well, I think I'm just going to give you a history lesson here because I'm not trying to reinvent farming. I'm just trying to keep it going. Anyway, Julie will be glad to know that Susan was worried that it was a red Angus, but it was a black Angus. So she got what she wanted. This was how I got involved in farming because that's the man who brought my father to Salt Spring, Mr. Harry Wright Bullock. My dad took this picture probably in 1911. Mr. Bullock entertained him with his photography, and many of the pictures you see on Salt Spring my dad took. That was Mr. Bullock's mansion, and that was his housekeeper's son, Willie. And he introduced my dad as an orphan to Salt Spring in 1906. He taught them farming. He didn't think orphans should be kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 12, and also waiting on the tables in a 3-button suit. And this was an article that Charles Scan wrote up in his book. And so that's how my dad got exposed to farming as a city kid from Victoria. Sheep at Mr. Bullock's, we still have sheep. Got 50 ewes on the place today, and we're not on Bullock's. Of course, we're on a property on LePage Road that Mr. Bullock sent my dad out to cook for the fire crew that had a forest fire in 1910. Little did he know that he would own the place one day. This is a revolutionary tractor with Willie Palmer and the Price boys. Their niece Elsie Perks still lives on Isabella Point. That's a 9N tractor. My dad, Willie Palmer, and Gavin Mott each bought a new 9N in 1940, and it was the revolutionary tractor of the day. And there's my dad dug a ditch about half a mile long from the neighbor property to the top of the valley, and that's the valley of about 5 acres in there in vegetables. That's probably taken in about 1960.
Wow.
And it's a peat bottom. He also kept some cows. Now, how many people here can guess how many cows it takes to put manure on 5 acres? If you want to smear the whole thing with a manure spreader, you need at least 20 cows. The reality on Salt Spring today is there's not enough cattle, sheep, or horses to provide the manure needed for the type of agriculture we would like to do. There's the rows of carrots and various other vegetables, which are hard to see looking from that side of the valley. Probably 1966, yeah. And anyway, my dad was the guy that got me involved in interest in farming. You've seen this one on the beer bottle, Salt Spring Pale Ale. That's his prize lettuce, which that particular variety was ordered from Slate and Stewart, the wholesalers of Victoria. 36 dozen for the royal visit in 1951 for the then Princess Elizabeth. So that's the royal. There's a nursing colleague of my sister's, about 1957. And they're sitting in the middle of the lettuce patch here, and there's some other vegetables. And so I had an upbringing having to do a lot of weeding. And I kind of learned how you do this stuff. Dad built this building. You see the cement there? It's a root cellar. He rented the farm over on Stark Road, the Atchison place. And he grew 5 acres of potatoes there, plus the 5 acres of vegetables in our place. And he built that cellar to hold 50 tons of potatoes. And but when I moved back in 1994, I knew that if we wanted to expand past the lowland in the valley where you didn't need the water, we would need irrigation. So I built this reservoir. And there's the pump house on the left. And Right now you're looking down, you can sort of see the corn and vegetables, but then my son Andrew is in the pumpkin business. Here's how I do the larger fields with one of these retracting reels. It'll irrigate 3.5 acres in about 12 hours, and you can. It's got a little computer. You want a 1/2 inch of rain, or 1 inch of rain, or 1.5 inches of rain, it'll do it for you. And that's how. Now here's taken a few days ago. This is Andrew and my granddaughter Mia. The pumpkin patch, that's what you'll see at Thrifty's and GVM, and at the farm for the school tours. There's corn, carrots, potatoes, beets, parsnips, turnips, and more sweet corn at the far end there. Mia and Andrew planted that pumpkin field in 6 hours, 10,000 seeds, by hand. She's 10 years old. Here's the carrots as they looked 2 days ago in the valley. You can see them in the rows. There's actually 3 rows of carrots on each hill. Then there's 2 rows of parsnips, or 3 rows of parsnips on each hill. There's 8 rows of beets and so on. This is a black plastic, 3 rows of peppers, 600 plants, 3 rows of eggplants, 450 plants, and a row of tomatoes, some pickling cukes and some other cukes, and a bunch of weeds around the other end. There's some cabbage. And this I used to use a drip system, but I ran out of time, and I got lots of water, so it was easier just to put sprinklers on. This is the squash field. These rows are 500 feet long, and there's 21 different varieties of squash in there. But we're doing a little bit different than my dad did, because we have to pick crops that I can work around my veterinary practice and still do. That's another view of the squash. And no, that's something. That's somewhere else.
It is something.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's the shadows. It looks like. Yeah. Yeah. It isn't what. Okay. My wife has a greenhouse project, and she's got about 180 cobra tomato plants in here. And there's going to be a draw here for this vegetable basket. There's a few cobras in there. And there's a bunch of other little varieties that we play with, but cobra's the big one. And the beautiful flavor, the dailies put me onto the cobras. They're dandy. And here's the family, not all of them. We have 5 kids. Our oldest daughter's not there. A couple of the boyfriends and girlfriends are no longer in the picture. There's Harold, the oldest boy. He's the veterinarian practice with me. There's Andrew. Stefan, the youngest guy, he's studying pathology at the University of Dartmouth in New Hampshire. And Emily, and that's them. That's it.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. That was great insight into the long history of farming on Salt Springs. Did you say 10,000 pumpkin seeds?